Hello, class. Your lovely professor, Isabella Electrum, is here today, and we are going to be talking about my favorite loop, the for loop. There are a couple kinds of loops. The main ones, the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop. Don't say don't say a if loop, because that's not real. That's how you get looks and people thinking you're not smart. Or if you just really want to troll someone, insist it's a thing. It's not. Okay, double check in. Good to check. Okay, good. First things first, let's talk about the syntax of how a for loop is written. For int I equals 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Nope, that is. Oop, okay. This is a basic for loop. First things first, obviously, the word for to indicate that we're making a loop. And then a whole mess of stuff in here that we have to break down and understand before we can go any further on this. Int I stands for, let me get a new line here. Index. Now, you can just write index, you can write I, you could write literally anything. This is just a variable. You can do absolutely anything, really. That's not a reserved word. You cannot write for, you can't write static, you can't write void, you can't write class, you can't write public, you can't write int, and so on. The reserved words, in this case, show up in this color on my screen. So, can't use those, but you can use basically anything else. You can call this stupid, dumb teacher. One word, but yeah. You can do whatever, but generally speaking, it stands for index, because this is your indexing value, or I for short. So, we're declaring it right now. This is its creation. Int I equals 0. If we have, say, int I equals 7 over here, this one, this I exists only from this curly brace to this curly brace. This I up here has nothing to do with it. They are completely different, and that's confusing. And it's also, like, not happy about it, so again, don't do it. But scope-wise, they're completely different variables, and it's calling you out on just don't. So yes, we are creating a variable int I, and then we are saying as long as I is less than 10, we're going to continue our nonsense. And then at the very, very end, we're going to increment I, is what this is. I++ is the same thing as writing I equals I plus 1. Or alternatively, I plus equals 1. All three of these things mean the same thing, but we write I++ here because, frankly, it's, as you can tell, the least amount of keystrokes. So, the way this works is, let me just write something here. Let's print I. Because before I started this, I made our class that we did previously. And I made it print ln to specify that it includes a new line. So we could theoretically then make a method called print, which just uses print and not println, but that's semantics at this point. So what this is you're going to do, let's talk through it first so we have an understanding, and then see it work. First things first, I is going to start at 0, so it should print 0. And then I less than 10, yeah. Once it's at the end here, it's going to check, boom, increment. So now our I is equal to, actually hang on, let's get a notepad up here. It's always good to talk through your programming, just to make sure stuff makes sense. Okay, so we're going to get I right here. I, it's going to start 0. And then, let's see, tab over a couple. Runs. Over here, let's just just prove a point here. And then that's at run 0. Actually, let's call it run 1, because the first time it's going to do something, we're going to get 1. There, we're going to get 0. So then, okay, it's going to check, hey, is 0 less than 10? Yes. Okay, let's continue. It's going to print 0. Then it's going to get to the end. It's going to increment by 1, which then means we're going to have 1 on run 2. So, is 1 less than 10? Yes. We're going to do the thing. Boom, it's going to print. And then so on and so on and so on. I'm not going to waste your guys' time going through all 10 iterations of that. We should have a basic understanding of how it's supposed to work. Let's run it. Yes, 0 through 9. But, Professor, it says 10. Why did it stop at 9? Well, theoretically here, we have 10 digits. So it did print 10 things. However, since in programming we start at 0, what we'd want to do, if we want to include the number 10, make it a less than or equals. If we run it through again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the for loop is very useful when you know what number you want to stop on. It's not very useful if you are running until something happens. If you don't know when something is going to happen, and you just got to keep checking till that thing happens, that is when a while or a do-while loop is significantly more useful. However, this is incredibly useful for indexing through arrays. My absolute favorite thing, arrays, I love them so much, and that is probably why the for loop is my favorite loop. So let's get more complicated here, shall we? I assume we have time for this. Yeah, we got a little time. So, what if we wanted to count down from 10? Well, let's start our value at 10 here. And while I is greater than or equal to 0, then I minus minus. This is decrementing. So the way this should work then starts with 10. It's going to check 10 greater than or equal to 0. Yeah. So we're going to print 10. And then it's going to subtract 1 from 10, making it 9, and so on. Let's see if that works, shall we? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Wonderful, very, very simple, very convenient, and super, super useful. You can even nest these things, by the way. You can put a for loop inside of a for loop, so you can make vertical rows and horizontal rows of stuff. Super cool. We'll get into some complex stuff with it later, but this is just an introduction to them for the moment, so you can get an understanding of the syntax behind a very powerful tool that I thoroughly, thoroughly love. So, class, that is a brief look at my favorite loop. If you have experience programming, like I know some of my viewers do, put your favorite kind of loop in the comments below. And for the rest of you, class dismissed. Have a wonderful day.